Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is TowerGate day number 753, Tuesday, April 16th, 2019. Thank you so much for tuning in. Okay, let's go ahead and get to it. Let's see, what's first on the list here? Oh yeah, AG Barr is going to be delivering the Mueller report on Thursday morning. So I'm sure a lot of people are looking forward to that. Personally, I really don't care about the Mueller report. We already know that it says he did not commit collusion, which of course we knew that before he ever did the investigation. And the collusion thing, who cares? So obstruction, collusion, who cares? It was all, the entire investigation was designed to find a crime, not to explain the crime that happened. So that's why it doesn't really matter to me. Of course, it'll be politicized by the Democrats. They'll try to use it to find a few sentences here and there that they can probably parlay into some hearings and maybe some impeachment hearings. You know, all the stuff that they're doing is just going to backfire on them. I'm way beyond the Mueller report at this point. I'm focused on the real crime and the real investigation. And that is what is going to be commanding the headlines in the weeks to come. And as we approach the 2020 election and the perps are being marched off to jail, none of this will even matter. People will completely forget that there even was a Mueller investigation. Alrighty, it looks like Cher has been red-pilled. Now, she may not be smart enough to know she's been red-pilled, but she sends out this tweet where she says, "I understand helping struggling immigrants, but my city, Los Angeles, isn't taking care of its own. What about the 50,000 citizens who live on the streets? People who live below the poverty line and are hungry. My state can't take care of its own. Many are vets. How can it take care of more?" Yes, that's right. Cher has just been red-pilled and probably too stupid to know it. But it's kind of interesting on that tweet because she sent out a tweet a long time ago when this whole immigration fight started, even before the government shutdown. She was tweeting out and saying that, you know, this was the wrong hill to fight on and that Trump's going to get his damn wall anyway and all that kind of stuff. So there's a possibility that Cher maybe is looking at this issue and probably thinking, you know, he's right on this issue. You know, you got to have some control of your borders. You just can't have tons of illegals coming into the country. Who knows what she's really thinking? But just the fact she tweeted this out shows definitely she's having a red pill moment. And she actually makes Trump's case with this particular tweet. So we'll see what the reverberations are and the responses from her friends. I'm pretty sure they're not going to be liking that very much. She'll probably be kicked out of the club. Maybe she'll have to get her a Make America Great Again hat and go to a Trump rally. Maybe Cher can be converted. Who knows? Well, Pelosi was, of course, interviewed on 60 Minutes, and I couldn't actually watch it because I really can't watch Nancy Pelosi for literally more than a minute at a time is all I can take. It's just too hard. But I was able to watch a few clips. So, at one point, Pelosi is asked about this socialist wing of her party, and she basically cuts in and says that the Democrats do not support socialism. Oh, really? She says that Cortez's wing of the party is like 5 people. Clearly, Nancy Pelosi is out of touch with the reality of her own party. I remember when the Rotten Reverend said that she understands that about 20 or 25% of the Democratic Party supports socialism. That's right. That's what the Rotten Reverend Clinton said. It's a lot more than 5 people, Nancy. Let me tell you what. In fact, here's 3 or 4 polls. You have one poll, it was a Fox poll, showed 40% of Democrats support a socialist agenda. You had an API poll showing 43% of Democrats support a socialist agenda. You had a POS poll which showed 77% of Democrats support a socialist agenda. And you had this other poll which shows 47%. So I think the one poll here, we can throw that out as an outlier. I'm not sure what that number is. That's way too high. I'm pretty sure it's not 77%. But the other polls all are right in that 40% range, 40, 43, and 47. So I think you can kind of split the difference there and say it's probably somewhere in the 42 to 45% range of Democrats who do support a socialist agenda. If the Democrats do not support a socialist agenda, then why are every single one of the 12 or so Democrats that are now running for president, why are every single one of them endorsing all the socialist platforms? The Green New Deal, Medicare for all, reparations, and on and on. This is what they're saying. It's not me saying this. It's what they're saying. So clearly, Madam Botox is out of touch with reality of her own party. But more importantly, what this tells you is that Madam Botox and the DCCC and the DNC understand that they're going to get destroyed in 2020 if they run on a socialist agenda. They have to lie about what they believe. But in order for them to raise a lot of money in the process, they need to pretend that they love socialism. And I think they actually do. So to raise money, to get their base activated, and to choose a nominee, they need to go out and talk about socialism and tell all their fans that they support it. But when it comes time for the general, they're going to try to pivot 180 degrees and dart to the center and try to sell themselves as centrists. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. But Madam Botox can keep on believing this. She's out of her mind, by the way. Let's see. Yes, the Notre Dame Cathedral is in flames. It looks like it's going to be a fairly devastating fire. Just the last bit of news I saw on it, this building's like over 850 years old or something. So it's a shame to lose a structure like that. Probably at that point, probably built almost entirely out of wood, I would assume. That thing's got to be like boy, I'm sure it goes up like a marshmallow dipped in gas. Well, so it's a shame to lose an old building like that. Not sure of the cause of it at this point. So who knows what's going on there. It's a shame to lose that building like that. But anyway, that's what's going on. I'm sure most of you have heard about that. As I was coming to do this video, they're still trying to put the fire out. So who knows. But it's probably going to be almost a complete loss, would be my guess. Let's see. It appears that the wild-eyed commie, Ocasio-Cortez, has quit Facebook, and she's now saying that social media is a public health risk. Well, there is some truth to that. It is a public health risk if you're an idiot. Now, if you can go on social media and you're not persuaded by the propaganda, nonsense, and just general craziness that happens there, if you're out there doing battle as a troll, which I don't have time for anymore, but I used to do some trolling myself. I still do some trolling on YouTube in the comments section, but you know, I like triggering liberals when I can. But I mean, if you have a good grasp on yourself and on the issues, you can go on and fight in that arena. It's just people who are extremely on the low end of the IQ scale, like Ocasio-Cortez, and people like her who are probably in danger and should not go on social media platforms if they don't have the ability to think for themselves, if they haven't done the proper course of study in history, the Constitution, and things and such, economics. Yeah, if you're an idiot, you probably should stay off of social media, because that is not the place to be educated. Not the place to be educated. It's where you go to get dumbed down and madly confused. Otherwise, if you're a warrior, though, and you're out there doing battle, go for it. Let's see. Oh, yes. I don't know how many of you saw the clip with this nut Al Green, Democrat Congressman Al Green, at the hearings the other day. The same one where Mad Max made an idiot of herself, made a fool of herself. There was also Al Green's little bit there, and I don't know how many of you saw that, but that was even, I don't know if it was funnier, but it was crazy. So he's got the bankers in front of him, and he's sitting there, and he looks out there at him, and he goes, it just dawned on me that, every one of you guys is white males. You're all white males. And then he's like, let me see a show of hands of any of you, if you're not, maybe my eyes are deceiving me. How many of you are not white male? If you're not a white male, raise your hand. And these are like the head bankers of the biggest banks in the country. Not that I like these guys, because I don't. They're despicable. But, they're sitting there having to take this from Al Green. And he don't just stop there. I mean, he beats it to death. He then asks him, how many of you, raise your hand if you think that when you are done as being CEO of this bank that you're going to be, that you're going to be succeeded by a woman or a person of color. And there's like 2 or 3 of them looking around like, I don't know, maybe, Then he starts asking them about, reparations, and then he goes to Jamie Dimon and says, yeah, I understand that you directly benefited from slavery back in the 1800s. At which point, J.P. Morgan, Jamie Dimon says, well, basically what happened there is, yeah, back in the 1800s, slaves were considered property. So if some white person who owned slaves went to a bank to get, credit or something, a loan, they could use, their slave holdings as assets, as property, to get a loan. And so that certainly was something that went on during that period. But Green just went on, and it was in a lot of ways, it was sad, it was disturbing, frustrating, maddening, and just crazy all at the same time. And I'm really surprised that none of those bankers, tried to square him away, but none of them did. I mean, they all sit there and took it. They just sit there and let themselves be abused like that. And I'm really surprised at that. I thought one of them would stand up for themselves, but not a single one of them did. Not a single one. But if you haven't seen the clip, it's kind of disturbing to watch. But it's like a 5-6 minute YouTube video clip. Al Green asking the bankers about slavery and reparations, and taking them to task because they're white men. That's a sin to Al Green. If you're a white man and head of a bank, that's a sin. And I have no problem that these guys are white or that they're men. I have a problem that they're freaking crooks and globalists. That's the problem I have. I don't care what color they are. It's what they do. Mr. Green. Well, what do we have here? Fusion GPS created reports for the Obama administration in 2010. Fusion GPS created reports for the Obama administration in 2010. Now we know that just about 2 weeks before Confusion GPS was officially hired by Hillary, that his wife visited the White House. It's in my timeline. But this makes you wonder. So we know about those contractors accessing the NSA database beginning in sometime in the late fall, late October of 2015, up to the time when Mike Rogers finally put a stop to it in the spring of 2016. And you got to wonder, you just know that Confusion GPS was one of those companies that was being given access to the database. So who would have been the person who would have authorized Confusion GPS to have access to that database, and what were they doing with the information they were collecting? Where was that information going? Remember, this is back in late 2015 and early 2016. Trump had not won the nomination yet. There was no reason to believe he was going to win the nomination at that point. It didn't become clear he was going to win the nomination until probably around the second primary. But prior to that, why was, and we can assume Confusion GPS is one of the contractors that were accessing the NSA database. Number one, who gave them that authority? And number two, what information were they gathering, and who were they giving that information to? Someone needs to get the answer to those questions. Believe me, those are big questions. Someone needs to look into that. They really do. Well, Molly Hemingway was on Fox News, and she said, I loved it. It was a truth bomb. And Molly Hemingway said that she was, they were talking about this revelation of A.G. Barr admitting that spying went on the Trump campaign. And so this is what the conversation is about. And they were talking about the media's role in all this. And Hemingway says that the media refuses to admit Trump campaign was spied on because they were complicit in the hoax. Exactly what I just said. Well, I've said it a few times. This is the biggest reason why that because normally the media would have pivoted by now and thrown the Democrats under the bus. That whole story under the bus would be gone, forgotten about. They wouldn't even talk about it. They'd move right on to the next thing, and that would be this. And they would move right into this in normal times. But these are not normal times. And their hatred for Trump probably would prevent that. But more importantly, the number one reason is that they are in fact complicit in the Spygate caper. I mean, they did not just receive all this. They were getting literally in the first year, particularly the first 6 months of the Trump administration, from November through about a little bit after the first of the year. There was like 3 or 4 months there right at the beginning where literally every day there was classified information being leaked to the media. Every day. There was like 1,000 leaks in like 90 days. It was 2, 3, 4 pieces of classified information leaked, including the president's conversations with foreign leaders, and all this stuff is being leaked. And, the media, they've been doing this for a long time. They knew that this was extraordinary, what they were doing, and they certainly had to know that the information that was being leaked to them would turn right around and be used by the FBI, by other media organizations. They knew that they were participating in a massive campaign to take classified information, to take it and make it so that it would be in all over the newspapers, in TV and everywhere else. This stuff was being classified information, being given to them. They were regurgitating it. It was being used by the government to go after the Trump campaign. And they knew it. They knew what they were doing. You cannot, I mean, if it was just a piece of classified information here and there, which they normally get, it's one thing. They were getting multiple bits of the same, and the type of stuff you don't get. Conversations with the president. Normally, I guarantee you, if anyone would have leaked even one conversation of Obama talking to a foreign leader, they would have turned that place upside down to find out who leaked it, what reporter was on the receiving end, and I promise you Obama would have had that reporter's phone wiretapped. Absolutely. They would have got warrants on that reporter. They would have got to their emails, their phone calls, and everything. If even one time that happened to Obama, it was happening hundreds and hundreds of times over and over again. There's no way that the media did not know what they were doing. They weren't just getting this information and thinking, oh, well, great, classified information. Hey, let's go ahead and put this out. And they knew exactly what they were doing, and I'm absolutely certain that on the setup to releasing the dossier where Clapper goes to CNN and gives them the story that Comey briefed Trump, I absolutely guarantee you CNN had to know, had to be a part of that entire plot. They knew exactly what they were doing. They participated in the coup. Period. Now, let's get back to something else. Very good story. I can't remember if I got this from Epoch Times or the Epic Times, for those of you who are funny about language. Epic Times or I can't remember, but I think it was Epic Times. Could have been Big League Politics. I can't remember exactly. But this was a pretty good story, and it goes through the testimony, 2 days of testimony from James Baker, and it says, pretty cool that this reporter points out that when you look at his testimony and you look at all the names of the people who are brought up in his testimony about who brought information to him or to the government in regards to the Trump-Russia thing, what you realize is that, just as I've been saying for a very long time, every one of these people have a connection to the rotten Reverend Clinton, or they are what we would consider, what this reporter considers, Clinton loyalist. They're either people who are working for Hillary or people who are loyal to Hillary. And there's all these people is who James Baker came in contact with, which is why he probably thought this was very unusual. That's his words, not mine. And so in the course of this article, they go through the testimony of James Baker, and they find all these individuals or people he was asked about, and there's at least 10 there that are certainly would have been considered Hillary loyalists. So the list of people would be Michael Sussman, which was, of course, her lawyer. David Corn. Then you have, of course, Senator Magoo and his good friend David Kramer. You have Jonathan Weiner. You have Sidney Blumenthal. You have Cody Shearer. You have Mifsud. You have Bruce Anelli. And you have Downer. Every one of these people, Clinton loyalists or close friends or people within the circle of the Clintons. And there's probably more. But this is what I mean, that when you look at all these people, I've done this on paper. I've actually taken and written all the names of all the players, or many of them, 50, 60 people, on a piece of paper. You can draw a line that they all have a direct connection to Hillary Clinton. They all know her, or they're all working directly for her, or they're working directly in her interest. And this is true for every one of the players in the entire Spygate scandal, which is why I'm so convinced that the Rotten Reverend Clinton planned, organized, directed, and controlled this entire operation. And that's what I think that we're going to find out when we get to the bottom of this barrel of monkeys. Now, speaking of the Rotten Reverend Clinton, the Rotten Reverend Clinton was telling an audience that she worked on the Nixon impeachment staff in the House Judiciary Committee. And she was talking about making the case for seeing all 400 pages of the Mueller report. So yes, it is true. The Rotten Reverend Clinton did work on the team working on Nixon's impeachment in the House Judiciary Committee. She had just graduated from law school, and actually I believe it was supposed to be Slick Willie that they wanted on the committee, but he declined, and so she jumped in and took his spot, if I remember correctly. Now, there's a story that goes along with this, and the story is that the Rotten Reverend Clinton was fired from that team because of unethical and dishonest behavior. Now, I think the true story here is that she was not actually fired, because the two people in charge of the committee really did not. The one guy, it was two guys in charge of the committee, both Democrats, and the one guy who was making the recommendation was not able to. He was not the person who would make the decision. So there was the Democrat leading that committee made the recommendation that she should be fired for unethical and dishonest behavior, and the other guy was not 100% convinced at some point, but then it all came to an end, and it ended before this could sort itself out. But certainly, one of the two people in charge of the commission wanted Hillary thrown off for illegal and unethical, dishonest behavior during the Nixon-Watergate impeachment staff hearings. Let's see, Pete Buttigieg. Pete Buttigieg. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of you people are kind of watching this guy a little bit. You know, he seems like a very nice guy. Very nice guy. But this guy is about to find out what it's like when you move from being a small-town mayor into the big leagues, and especially when you cut into the Rotten Reverend Clinton's territory. As soon as he starts moving up, and he is right now, he is sitting right now in third place. We have Biden allegedly at 24, Sanders at 29, and this Buttigieg is now in third place with 9%, just ahead of Warren and Harris, who are tied at 8. So he's moved up into third place, which tells you how bad the rest of the field is, because this guy almost looks halfway insane. But when you dig into him a little bit, what you find is that this guy's had a history of praising Bernie. Bernie is his hero. Now, why he threw his hat in the ring, I don't know, because Bernie's actually running. If Bernie is his hero, then why is he running? Who knows? But he's praised Bernie over the years for his bravery for using the term socialist to describe himself. He, in fact, wrote an essay in college where it was all about his praise for Bernie because he had the courage to stand up and call himself a socialist. And so, essentially, Buttigieg is a demented disciple of Bernie, Commie Bernie. So maybe he's running to be Bernie's VP. That would be my guess. That's the only thing I can think of. But what he's going to find out, Buttigieg is about to find out, that when you jump into national politics, especially when you get into the Right Reverend Clinton's territory that she really doesn't want you in, bad things can start happening to you. And I can assure you that the Right Reverend Clinton already has a team working on Buttigieg. She will have a dossier on him about 4 inches thick here in the very near future. And so I would make a prediction right now. Expect within the next 10 days to 2 weeks for some really nasty stuff to come out about Buttigieg. Whatever he's got in his past, the Reverend will find it. And she will hand it off to Maggie Haberman. And she'll spread it around to her minions. And this dude will drop like a rock. Say goodbye to Pete Buttigieg. It was nice knowing you. It went well for a couple weeks, but that's as far as you're going. See ya. Now, let's get to Dumbass of the Week. Let's go down the list. Kilda, she went for Ilhan Omar, or he. Might be a he. I'm not sure. Anyway, Kilda went for Ilhan Omar. Montag went for Jean Shaheen. Peter, Maxine number 1. Jay Inslee number 2. And the Bug-Eyed Fool, Adam Schiff number 3. Dennis Waddell went for Mad Max, AOC, and Schiff. In that order. Patty, she's in solid with Max. Mad Max. And she's my pick, by the way. That was my number 1 pick for the week, is Mad Max as well. I agree with Patty. That was insane. Absolutely insane. She's head of the banking committee. Doesn't even realize that the bankers gave up the student loan program 10 years ago. We have Oregon. He went with Mad Max, Omar, and AOC. We have Dennis Shaw. He went with me for thumping the table. What he thinks I'm thumping the table. I'm not thumping the table. Okay? I did some testing. I found out the noises you hear are not from me thumping the table. They're from whenever I pronounce, like many other people that you watch videos and stuff of, when you pronounce the word that starts with a P or the word B, it'll just redline your, for whatever reason. P's and B's have a tendency to just, so you can guarantee whenever you see, you hear that sort of what sounds like a thump sound, it's just basically overloading the output of the mic on my camera, and it just redlines the camera and distorts. And so when I say a B or a P, it's almost like you have to, whenever you say any word starting with B or P, you have to sit back so you don't blow away the mic. If I'm leaning forward and I say any word that starts with P or B, it'll boom boom redline the thing, and it'll pop and sound bad. So I do my best. If I turn the volume down, people say, oh, it's not loud enough, so I turn the volume back up. And then if I do, I get it right to where the max. But I have to be careful, because if I'm leaning forward a little bit and I say a word with P or B, boom, it redlines and distorts. It sounds like a bump sound, but it's actually the pronunciation of words with B or P. Okay, now we got that taken care of, but thank you, Dennis. He was only joking, by the way. Thanks, Dennis. And I see some people listen to my videos through like surround sound systems and stuff, so I can appreciate where it's probably not fun to hear those thumps in there. So I'm not making fun of that. I mean, it sucks. But hopefully in the future I can do better at that, or maybe just try another approach to my video recordings. Let's see. Jeanette, she went with Mad Max, Nadler, and Schiff. Jack, she went with Shaheen, Mad Max, and Schiff. Let's see. Yeah, Jeanette, Mad Max, Nadler, and Schiff. John Wan, Mad Max, Nadler, and Ted Lieu. Yeah, Ted Lieu. He definitely deserves it. Susan went with Omar. IPA went with Comey. Jonathan went with Mad Max, Ted Lieu, and Nadler. There's another shot for Ted Lieu. That would be in regards to the Candace Owens hit job he tried to do on her. Kimberly Smith. Any armed politicians for gun control. I think she's referring her comment to Kamala Harris, who says she carries a gun for personal protection, but she doesn't want you to have one. Michael Lee went with Mad Max. Mara, the lovely and talented Mara, went with Nadler and AOC. Ed Louder, he went with all the Dems in Congress and the left-wing media. Yep. Gene went with Nadler, Ted Lieu, and AOC. Solid picks, Gene. Very well done. Alan went with the Rotten Reverend Clinton. There you go. She's on the board. John R. went with Brennan, Mad Max, and AOC. And Jaina went with Ted Lieu. Another one for Ted Lieu. Nadler and Trump. I think Trump because of the Julian Assange thing. Be my guess. Okay, so let's tally them up, and it looks like the winner is, pretty handily too, by the way, it looks like Mad Max. Mad Max. Alrighty, Mad Max. Mad Max hasn't won it. Maxine Waters has not won the Dumbass of the Week in months and months. She used to win it every week. And then Ocasio-Cortez, the election came around, Ocasio-Cortez and all these crazy other people came in and they started stealing the show. But Mad Max came back strong this week. Very strong. Clearly classic definition, textbook definition of dumbass in her presentation this week. And of course we have Nadler and AOC tying for second place. Both Nadler and Ocasio-Cortez, the wild-eyed commie, second place. And Ted Lieu, a guy who hardly ever makes it into the running. Not that he isn't worthy, but he's got a lot of competition. Ted Lieu comes in third place. So there we go. The winner this week, Mad Max. Second place, a tie between Nadler and AOC. And Ted Lieu bringing up the rear. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow with more TowerGate. See ya. Bye.